think it says we are. So, welcome back, everyone, to the live in the Midwest. We've been slammed by a lot of snow, so we're calling this the Snowpocalypse edition of YouTube Live. I'm going to be answering a lot of the questions. I promised everyone that I would answer the live questions first. Just testing the settings. If everyone can hear me, it looks like we'll be okay. So yeah, so I see most of the people on that ask questions. Now, we always prefer the questions that are live. So if you're in the chat and you have a question that you did not submit, go ahead and post those in there. I will read those ones first. But I did get some questions before that. So I'll wait and see if anybody posts any questions. If not, I'll go ahead and start with one. One of the longer questions, a gentleman had messaged me, and I'm going to read it, so you might see me looking off to the side. It says, "Hey there, Dr. Allo. First off, once again, congratulations on the book releases. I'm a health and nutrition coach, and a majority of my clients are also coworkers. I work for UPS in Woldport in Louisville, Kentucky, on night shift, along with 3,000-ish others. Majority of my clients are 35 and older, 80% or more, all have family histories of heart disease, myself included, which is a driver for wanting to be healthy. Any tips or highlighted points that I could use for reference for my clients?" Hi, Vicky. There's a lot of people on. Hi, Arwa, Pesh, Noor, and Vicky. If you want, and hey, Razzle too. So the rest of his question says, "Is there any points of reference I could use for my clients? Would be greatly appreciated." So he's saying most of his clients are basically 35 years or older, and they all have a family history of heart disease. So what I normally tell people to do, and I stress this a lot, is first get your diet right. Younger people in the 35 age range can exercise, and we highly recommend starting with something. The best exercise for anyone is the exercise that they're willing to do. And it doesn't even have to be exercise. It could be just activity. Whatever activity you enjoy doing, that's what we want you to do. Now, if that's just walking around the block, that's great. If it's walking your dog, swimming, tennis, I don't know. People have different hobbies and different things that they enjoy. It doesn't have to be like actual specific things that most people would label exercise. It doesn't have to be lifting weights. It doesn't have to be running or jogging. It can be anything. But whatever activity you enjoy doing, that's what we want you to do. Now, with his clients in Kentucky, since they are younger, he could probably get them on a mixed program because they work night shift. My guess is when they should probably work out before they go to work, which would probably be 5 or 6 p.m. I would recommend starting them out, if depends on how overweight or obese they are. Normally we tell people that are pretty overweight, we're talking like over 100, 120 pounds overweight. These are people in the 300 to 360 pound range, maybe 280 and up. You probably want to start out with a mostly diet. Cut your calories down by about 20, 25%. Start there. Once you've lost 15 to 20% of your body weight, which might take a few months, 2 to 3 months, start incorporating activity, because your joints are going to hurt. Your body's going to hurt. I have so many patients that are like 300-400 pounds, like, "Dr. Allo, I can't do any exercise. I can't even get up out of a chair to use the bathroom. How do you expect me to exercise?" So those type of patients that are quite overweight, we usually want them to start out with a nice diet, get into a calorie restriction, and start losing weight. Once weight has come off, then you can start getting into different kinds of activities. And for the vast majority of people that are in this category, where they're over 100 pounds, maybe 150 pounds overweight, you definitely want to start with just walking. Get a step counter. Maybe your phone does that automatically, or your watch. If you're doing 2,000 steps a day, try to get to 4,000. If you're doing 4,000, try to get to 6,000. They did a study where people who do 7,500 steps or more are the people who are considered pretty active. So you want to get over 7,500. Obviously, over 10,000, you're very, very active. So that's where I would start with most people. If they're somewhere between 60 to 80 or maybe 90 pounds overweight, then you probably want to start them off with diet as well, but then also start with exercise right away. And these people, you could start with resistance training. They're not as heavy. They can do things. So you want to start with compound lifts. I always stress doing the 5 or 6 major compound lifts. There's 3 main compound lifts, which is overhead press, bench press, squat, and deadlift. It's mainly squat, bench, and deadlift. But a lot of times you do overhead press to help with shoulders and core stability as well. All of them work your core. They work your lower body, upper body, almost every muscle group. I also like to throw in some kind of a row, whether it's a barbell row or a cable row or a lat pull down, or even just a pull up, something for your back. And then some kind of a hip thrust or hip hinge movement. The deadlift does that, but a hip thrust, with a barbell or a machine, really strengthens that posterior chain, like your glutes, your hamstrings, your lower back, those kind of things. So you definitely want to start with the 5 major lifts. And even if you did just 2 sets of those once a week, you are set. That's where I would start, roll with your clients. Now, the other thing with exercise, you want to do the least amount of exercise you can do to get the most benefit. So if you don't exercise at all, 1 day a week is plenty. You do 1 day a week, you see all these benefits, you improve, everything gets better, everything gets stronger, you start doing really, really well. Thanks. Yeah, Roll, don't worry. I still got more. I'm reading the rest of your questions. But you definitely, if they're getting benefit and seeing results from 1 day a week, why go to 2 or 3? You want to save that in your pocket to use later. So you definitely want to use up as much as you can, get the most out of that 1 day a week. Now, if they get stuck, they've lost weight, they built whatever muscle they want, their BMR went up, they can eat more food and they're still losing weight, then eventually you can increase it to 2 days a week. Maybe do like a upper 1 day and a lower the next day. And you can grab all of my exercise programs at drallo.net/exercise. They're all on there. It's free. You just pop in your email and you can download the cheat sheet plus a video demonstration of every single exercise. The next part of his question, part 2, is, on a personal note, any tricks on how to get off a statin? I know it was prescribed for a reason, but the only prescription I'm on, I can't accept that there's no way to get my markers within range without it. So this is a really good question, Roll. My patients ask me this every single day. My cholesterol is high and I don't want to take medications. So it depends on how high your cholesterol is. Most studies they've done where they've had people do lifestyle changes, where they exercise almost every day and cut out saturated fat to lower their cholesterol. If you did that for 2 years, and they've done tons of studies and meta-analysis on this, but lifestyle changes, if you were perfect and you cut out every single piece of saturated fat there was in your diet, and you exercised every single day, ran a mile, whatever it is, all the cardio in the world, lost weight, whatever, the most you could lower your cholesterol by is about 16 to 18%. And that is like the most adherent person in the studies. The average amount of people in the studies lowered their cholesterol somewhere between 10 and 15%. So let's say your cholesterol is like 300. A 10% reduction is like 30 points. You're still at 260. It's still not that good. If you're at 220, a 10% reduction is those 20 points, 22 points-ish, and you're down into the 200, maybe, 198 or whatever. So it's not really a huge reduction. The reason we put people on statins is because they actually work. Huge reduction in mortality, 22% reduction in mortality, which means like 22% reduction in the chance that you might die. Also somewhere in that range, 18 to 22% reduction in first heart attack or first stroke. Also in statistics, we have something called the number needed to treat. If we put 1,000 people, if we put X number of people on aspirin, how many people would we have to put on aspirin to save one life? That's called the number needed to treat. What's the number needed to treat for aspirin? As an example, most drugs, and I'm not talking about aspirin, but most drugs, the number needed to treat is in the thousands. 1,500, 2,000, 20,000 for some of them. So if we put that many people on, what is the number for statins? The number for statins is only 40. It's a really, really low number. For every 40 people you put on a statin, you save one life, which is obviously very, very awesome. I'll get to the rest of the questions. If you have anything you want to, or Roll, I'm sorry, if you have anything to add to that or want a clarification, please put that in there. I'll address the questions that are in the chat. Razzle Dazzles, what do you feel when you have a heart attack? So when you have a heart attack, you feel like a squeezing chest pain. when you exert yourself. Now, there's different kinds of heart attacks, but the most common one is when you exert yourself, you feel chest pain. It would be getting a little too technical to go into the two different kinds, and it gets better when you rest. If you're outside shoveling snow, for example, or running, on a treadmill, you start feeling the squeezing chest pain all across your chest, and it starts going down your arm or up into your neck or jaw. When you stop and take a break, it goes away. So that's what you would feel. JPZ Sports asks, for a patient with AFib with no symptoms, what do you think they should have? Do you think they should have an ablation? The patient cannot tolerate a beta blocker because their resting heart rate is in the 50s. Okay, so this is a really, really good question. I don't know who the patient is, so please don't consider this medical advice on how to live your life. But if you can't tolerate the medications that generally would control AFib, which most of them would slow your heart down, and since your heart rate's already 50, those would probably be a bad idea for you. But definitely, that person should probably get an ablation. Now ablations are not without risk. Every procedure obviously comes with some kind of risk. So we don't want to just say that yes, you should have it, or no, you shouldn't. Talk to your cardiologist about it to get some details. Razzle Dazzle says, oh, thank you. The professional says, my ICD has shocked me 6 times over the past 4 years. The remaining battery life is now 4 years. When do I become concerned the device will not have enough remaining battery power to fire? So if it says there's 4 years on it, you don't have to worry. It will monitor you for 4 years. If you do end up getting shocked, then the question will, that if you do end up getting shocked, they will check it afterwards and see how much battery life is left, because when it does shock you, it uses up a lot of battery power. But you're not going to have to worry. If it says there's 4 years left, if it's just monitoring you for the next 4 years, somewhere around the 3.5 year mark, they will need to change it out. But I wouldn't worry about it. If you do get shocked, they obviously will check it. You'll go to the hospital, you'll call your cardiologist, and they will check it, and they'll say, hey, it looks like you still have 3.5. So it's not going to be depleted so much unless you get like 20 shocks in a row. Generally, it's not going to be depleted so much so that you waste the battery life that quickly. Rashad M says, for weight loss, what do you do when hitting a plateau? This is actually an excellent question. So it kind of depends. I'll need a little more detail, but I'll give you some general things, and you can kind of play off of that and post updates. So when you hit a plateau, it kind of depends on where your calories are. If you're still eating like 2,000 calories a day, you could decrease your calories by about 5 to 10%. So get it to like 1,800, 1,850. The other alternative is increase your step count by about 5 to 10%. You don't want to decrease your calories so severely that when you hit a plateau, you're at like 1,200 calories. Like there's a lot of people that'll be like, you know what? I want to go on a diet. I'm 320 pounds. I'm just going to eat 1,200 calories a day. Yes, that will work. But when you're 320 pounds and you're eating 1,200 calories a day, that's a severe, severe calorie deficit. And you will, when you do hit a plateau, what are we going to do? We're going to lower your calories to like 800, 900. That's severely, severely low for a 320-pound person. So what we want is for you to keep your calories as high as humanly possible while still causing weight loss. So for Rashad, it kind of depends on where your calories are. If you're eating like 1,800, you could shave off a little bit and see what happens. You could weight lift more. If you lift some weights and build some muscle, your BMR will go up. You actually start losing weight again because now your caloric needs go up. But you haven't increased your calories. So if, let's say, your resting you total daily energy spender is about 1,800, that's what you're eating, you're not really losing weight. You lift some weights for a few months, put on a few pounds of muscle. Now your body needs like 1,800 or 1,900 calories to maintain its new muscle mass and lean body mass. Now that 1,800 is causing weight loss again. So that's kind of how I would answer that. There's no magic to it. There's not like increase your fat or, take this magic pill. There is no magic to it. It's literally just tweaking the numbers. You don't want to go too low though. Pesh says, kindly explain the importance of fat burning zone in terms of heart rate during cardiovascular exercise. I see your response to Rashad. Let me just jump back into that. Rashad is saying, I'm eating 1,600 to 1,400 calories a day. So for a male, what do you weigh, just out of curiosity? But for most males, 16 to 1400 is on the lower end, especially if you're like 180 pounds or more, maybe, or 160 or more even. Maybe I'll wait for a response. But either way, there is something called a reverse diet. When your calorie count gets that low relative to your body weight, you want to add calories back, actually. Okay, he's at 190. Okay, so that's really low for 190. No, a 190-pound male, if you're 5'8" to 5'10" and maybe even a little taller, you should be losing weight at even like 1900 or 2000 calories a day, even 2200. So the key here is going to be having to do, and I don't know what your body fat percentage is. Would you consider your body fat percentage to be above 20% or closer to like 10 or 15? But if your body fat percentage is up there, you're gonna have to do something called a reverse diet, where you add about 100 calories 100 calories a day back, and you stay at that. So let's say you're eating 1600 calories a day, like you said, go up to 1700 for like 2 weeks, then 1800 for like 2 weeks, then 19, then 2000, then 2100, 2200. Over the next few weeks, every 2 weeks, increase it by about 100. You'll notice that your weight's not going to change that much. You're at 190. You'll probably go up to about anywhere from like women about 194, men to like 197, 198. You'll put on about 4 to 8 pounds. That's your body taking up glycogen into the muscles again and water following it. So okay, body fat percentage 29%. So that's clearly, so you've metabolically adapted to a low calorie count. I have a whole video on that. Just search metabolic adaptation, Dr. Allo. But you want to add back calories. You at 190, you probably want to get your calorie count back up to 2800. Don't freak out. Your body weight will go up. It's water and glycogen. Get your calorie count, increase it by about 100 every 2 weeks or so. Your body weight will go up to probably 195, 198 at the most. It'll start going up and then it'll level off and kind of stay there as you increase calories. You get up to like, let's say 198. I know that number scares you because it's almost 200, but don't worry. Get up to about 198, keep adding calories, adding calories, adding calories. It'll stay stable, stable, stable. Let's say at 2,800 or so, you get to 2,900. Now your weight starts going back up again. Now you're 200 pounds. Okay, that's where you got to stop. Stop at 2,800 or 2,700, whatever it ends up being. Stay at that calorie count, and make sure you do increase your protein to the correct intake. Like probably for you about 180 grams a day. Stay 180 grams a day of protein, 2,800 calories. Stay at that for like 2 to 3 months. The longer you stay at maintenance, the better. Still lift weights. Do those compound lifts to get your body mass up, your lean body mass, your muscle mass up. And then now you can drop your calories to 2,600 and do that for like 3 months. Boom. Body fat starts coming off again. Now you've built up more muscle because you're in a calorie maintenance or calorie surplus even. You've built up more muscle. You're going to look a lot better. That body fat percentage will go down. You'll like the way you look a lot better after you reverse diet. Trust me on this one. I know it sounds crazy and it sounds counterintuitive, and you're like, the last thing I want to do is actually gain weight and get closer to 200. I know that like that number psychologically is like, oh my God, I'm going to be 200 pounds. So don't do that. Don't freak out. Okay, now to Peshnader's question, and feel free to ask more, Rashad, if that didn't answer your question. Peshnader is asking, explain the importance of fat burning zone in terms of heart rate during cardiovascular exercise. Okay, so there is something called a fat burning zone. For the vast majority of people, a heart rate between 100 and 135-ish is the fat burning zone, where your body is primarily, if you're on a treadmill and you're walking at an incline at about 2.8 or 3 miles an hour, your heart rate's somewhere about 120, 125. You're burning most of those calories from fat. So that's what they call the fat burning zone. If you increase the intensity where you're almost sprinting or you are jogging faster, you will take some energy from carbohydrates or glycogen stores. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, you're burning calories. And if you're in a calorie deficit and you're using this to create a calorie deficit, you will burn more total calories if the intensity of your running or activity goes up, but you'll burn more calories specifically from fat if you're in the fat burning zone, but it won't be as many calories. Like let's say you are walking on a treadmill at 2.8 miles an hour on an incline and your heart rate's 120, you burn 50 calories and it's almost entirely fat, right? But if you increase that, double it, and you're like jogging and going crazy, now you've burned some calories from fat, a lot from glycogen or carbohydrates, but you've also burned like 300 calories now instead of just 50. So there's not like a right, wrong way to do it. I don't like people to do super intense exercise where they're jogging on a treadmill and trying to kill themselves. First of all, it's bad on your joints, especially if you're overweight. Second of all, your body can adapt to that. Your metabolic adaptation, it adapts better to intense exercise. But if you're just walking on a treadmill at a slow pace on an incline, your body can't really adapt to that. You'll burn less total calories. However, more of it will be, a higher percentage of it will be from fat. So definitely just be aware of that. Jay-Z Sports is asking, does the glycemic index have any impact on someone's A1C if hypothetically their calories and total carb intake remain the same? Does glycemic index have any impact on someone's A1C? A1C for the non-medical people is a measure of your average blood glucose for the last 2 or 3 weeks. The higher the A1C, the higher your average blood sugar. So he's asking if you eat foods that are higher in processed carbs, which would raise your glycemic index. Glycemic index is a measure of when you eat this 100 grams of this food, how much does it raise your blood sugar by? They use 100 grams of table sugar as the standard. They call that a glycemic index of 100. There are some foods that raise your blood sugar higher than table sugar, believe it or not. White bread, cornflakes, I think, maltose in beer, the sugar that's in beer, and a few other things. They do raise your sugar more. Like things like broccoli don't raise your blood sugar at all, and they're like really low, like 5, 10, 15. There are some things in the middle. Brown rice is like in the 20s and 30s. White rice is slightly higher. So he's asking if my total carb intake remain the same and my calories are the same, and let's also throw in protein. If your protein is the same, eating higher glycemic index foods does not cause any problems. And there's been a ton of studies on this. In fact, they are in my lectures. I think if you watch my 3-hour lecture, you'll see some of those studies in the index. If you grab my book, sorry, shameless plug, but my book just came out on Amazon. It's called Actual Weight Loss. It's probably reversed in the picture. But if you go on Amazon, or if you just go to actualweightlossbook.com, it'll take you to Amazon. You can pre-order it. The whole glossary is studies. There's actually a whole section in the appendix on this exact topic. Articles that show that high glycemic index foods versus low glycemic index foods have no bearing on weight gain or weight loss as long as protein and calories are equated. So to answer your question, I think this answers what you're asking, is that if you are eating an isocaloric diet with the same amount of protein, whether the carbs or fats are high glycemic index or low glycemic index, it really makes no difference. If weight is coming off, then all of your cardiovascular markers are improving. Okay, I hope that answers it, JP. If not, just ask, clarify your question. Jim is asking, is it okay to add heavy cream to my protein shakes? I do it to add more calories. Yeah, if you need more calories, you can add anything. I've seen people add olive oil or vegetable oils because oil is very, very calorie dense. Similarly, something like heavy cream, it's calorie dense because it has a lot of fat in it. If you're trying to add calories and you need more calories, that is absolutely fine. Some people, believe it or not, I know most of you here are probably talking about weight loss and think I'm crazy, but some people want to gain weight. They want to gain muscle. The easiest way to gain muscle, the most anabolic signal you can send to your body is actually calories. I had a friend of mine, just as a side note, a friend of mine named Adam was training with me. He weighed 160 pounds and he was 6'1". Imagine a male that's 6'1" that weighs 160 pounds. And he was working out. He's not putting on muscle, but he's getting stronger. And he's like, Doc, what do I do? He finally, I've been telling him to increase his calories. He was eating 1,600 calories a day. He wouldn't listen to me. Finally, we started increasing his calories week by week. Also about 100 every 2 weeks or so. He got up to 2,800. He'd get his calories up to 1,800. He'd put on a few pounds and it would drop again. Get his calories up to 2,000. He'd gain a few pounds and it would drop again. We kept doing that for weeks and weeks and weeks. Finally, right around 2,800, his body weight started climbing. He went from 160 pounds to 190 pounds, put on almost no fat, just maybe a very thin layer, but he put on almost 25-ish, 30 pounds of pure muscle. So the most anabolic signal you can send to your body is calories. If you're not bulking and eating enough calories, you're not going to put on muscle or gain weight. So Jim clearly is trying to get in more calories. You definitely can do that. Razzle Dazzle says, And Razzle Dazzle is my daughter, actually. Can you still eat what you like when you are trying to lose weight? Yes, Razzle. That is actually the most important thing that I try to teach my patients. The key thing that I've been trying to tell people, and that's what I've been talking about in my book. Like, one of the key tenets of what I teach is, look, I want you to eat what you like. Eat whatever on earth you like, because you've been eating like this for the last 15, 20 years, and in her case, maybe only 10 years. But for most people, you've been eating like this for your entire life. If I tell you just to eat kale and quinoa for the rest of your life, you're not going to do it. You're going to eat kale and quinoa for like maybe 10 minutes, a month, 2 months. You lose some weight, sure, because it's very, very low calorie, but you're gonna gain it back when you go back to eating what you like. So why not eat what you like, but just a lot less of it? And that's what I've been telling my patients. And if you're a physician in here, I know I have a lot of physicians as followers. If you're a physician, that would be my recommendation. Tell your patients, listen, I don't care what you eat what you like to eat. It just has to be less. Now, it's better if they can track with an app. Um, because it's more precise. But some of my older patients and other patients don't like tracking with apps, or they're not good with phones. So I tell them, look, just take a look at your food. Whatever's on your plate, take away half of it and eat that. Eat just half of what you used to eat. Wait 20 minutes, because it takes 20 minutes for your stomach to tell your brain that you're full sometimes. And then if you're like starving, go back and eat a little bit more. Don't go inhale the whole rest of it. You've suddenly eliminated half of your calories, which is awesome. So do that, and that's a really, really good strategy. Zabe is asking, hi, sir, love your videos. You're looking well, sir. Oh, okay, that's not a question. Thank you, Zabe. JP says, why does a low-carb diet cause a reduction in triglycerides? Intuitively, I would think that eating less fat would mean less triglyceride floating in the blood. Okay, so triglycerides, it's actually in the name. It's a fatty acid chain. It's a fatty acid backbone with 3 glycerides attached to it. Glycerides are sugars. So any diet that lowers in caloric intake lowers your triglycerides. But in the beginning, when they first started studying these Atkins diets and these low carb or very low carb diets, they found that people were losing a lot of weight eating just meat and fat. And they noticed their cholesterol profiles improved, including their triglycerides. Later on, we did studies on low calorie diets, just low calories, regardless of macronutrients, where they ate the same amount of calories. One group ate all carbs, one group ate all fat, one group ate all protein. And they looked at their cholesterol profiles, triglycerides, blood sugars, inflammatory markers, all that stuff. It was all the same. None of it really mattered or made that big of a difference. They did find that in low carb diets, the LDL dipped a little faster than some of the other kinds of diets, but in the end, it all balanced out. These were like 10, 12-week diets, but once you prolonged it out to a year and the changes all matched up, it didn't matter. There was a recent study that showed people with low carb diets had slightly shorter lifespans, but also the group that was in the low carb diets were also more likely to be males and more likely to be smokers. So more research is needed there. JP says, is it because the body is utilizing more fat as a fuel on a lower carb diet and therefore triglycerides are reduced? So again, triglycerides are actually a fatty acid chain with sugars attached to it. It's not fat. So maybe there's a little confusion in the naming there, but feel free to clarify. But once you reduce calories, your triglycerides get better, your total cholesterol gets better, regardless of which macronutrients are emphasized. And I've talked about that a lot. One of my YouTube videos is like 3 hours long. It's called What Doctors Don't Know But Should Know About Losing Weight. I go over all these studies. Let's see the next question. Razzle says, I'm not 10, I'm almost 12. Okay, thanks for that. JP says, does having large arm muscles make a blood pressure reading less accurate on the upper arm? On a wrist BP monitor, my BP is perfect, but on the upper arm cuff, it is often high. So normally the measurement you take on your bicep is the most accurate, and it doesn't matter how large your muscles are. If your arm circumference is really big, they can use a bigger cuff. The ones on the wrist are the most inaccurate, usually because it's very sensitive. It's a tiny little radial ulnar artery, and it's very difficult to get an accurate blood pressure there. But definitely, the arm ones in the upper arm, where your bicep is the most accurate. Okay, Zabe is asking, I've dropped from 224 pounds to 196 pounds through keto style. I've started back up doing resistance training again to shape up. I will have muscle memory. What's the best way to adjust diet for more training? Okay, so if you are training hard, Zabe, you need carbohydrates. What I would do if you don't want to lose the gains of weight loss that you've lost, like you don't want to gain your weight back, track your calories for about a week. Figure out about how many calories you're eating based on what you're telling me. I don't know how old you are, but I'm guessing you're probably eating 17 to 1800 just based on your weight. If you're, but let's use an example. Let's say you're eating 1800 calories keto style, and that's how you lost your weight. But now you want to train harder and you want to lift weights and you want to put on muscle mass so that you look nicer when more fat comes off. You definitely want to then you definitely want to figure out how many calories you're eating and then try to match it when you switch off of keto. I usually recommend a more balanced diet, but it depends on what you like. I mean, I always tell people just eat what you like. Just make sure it adds up to the correct amount of calories and you get enough protein. You will probably have to increase your protein. If you're a 196-pound male, my guess is you need between 160 to 180 grams, maybe 190, depending on how muscular you are, grams of protein a day. So try to get all of that balance, more protein, and then add carbs back. Make sure it still adds up to 17 to 1800 or whatever amount of calories you find out that you're eating. I will warn you that your body weight will go up quickly initially because when you start introducing carbs back in, your muscles are going to take up glycogen, and water follows glycogen. Your muscles and organs are going to store some glycogen, and water is going to follow, and your weight's going to go up. That's not fat, so don't worry about it. I hope that answers your question. I'm going to get to North. Oh, JP says triglycerides are a glycerol backbone with 3 fatty acids. Right. Did I say it the opposite way? Well, either way, it doesn't matter. Triglycerides go down if weight is coming off. JP asks, do you agree that starvation mode is a myth? People think they'll gain weight if they drop calories too low, but it doesn't make any sense. Gastric bypass agent. Yeah, no, there is no such thing as starvation mode. Your body is suddenly going to try to defend itself because you are eating so few calories. If you're eating 300 to 600 to even 800 calories a day, you're going to lose weight. Your body isn't magically going to find a way to gain weight eating such few calories. I want to answer Noor's question because she had sent it in. I have a question. I'm seeing a nutritionist who recommends 1,500 calories a day and now recommends 1,800 calories a day. So it sounds like she went to a nutritionist who first said 1,500 calories and now says 1,800. Is this considered a restrictive diet? I weigh about 200 pounds, and it's hard for me to eat 1,500 on a typical day. Does it mean it's hard for you to get to 1,500, or does it mean you're having trouble staying at 1,500 and you're overeating? You're welcome, JP. So if let me answer the question in both ways. If you're a 200-pound female, 2,000 calories should technically cause weight loss if that's what you're trying to do. So if you start eating 2,000 calories a day, do that for like 3. Oh, she's overeating. Okay. So 1,500, it's hard to eat only 1,500. So 1,500 is low. So let me back up. If you came to me, and then we'll get back to it. If you came to me and said, hey, I weigh 200 pounds, I'm a normal height female, 5'2 to 5'6, maybe 5'8, somewhere in that range. Let's say you're 30 to 40 years old, maybe somewhere in that range. So about 2,000 calories a day should cause weight loss. You just multiply your weight by 10. But the best way to do it, honestly, is track how you eat. If your weight is staying stable, and I'm assuming it is, let's say your weight is staying 200 pounds every single day. You measure yourself week to week. It's always 200 pounds. Track your food with MyFitnessPal for like a week. And then find out what your daily average is. One day you ate 1,800, one day it was 2,200, blah, 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 whatever. Let's say you're eating 2,300 calories a day, and that's keeping you at 200 pounds. We normally tell people subtract about 400 or 500 calories, and that should cause a weight loss of about 1 pound per week. So start there. I would start by tracking. Depends on how precise you want to be. I'm like obsessive compulsive sometimes, and I really want to track things accurately. So, okay, Zabe, that's a very good question. Don't go away. I'm going to answer that. But I would start by tracking your calories very closely for about a week just to know where we are, because otherwise it's just a guess. Sure, you could be metabolically adjusted and you're eating only 1,700 calories a day, not losing weight. I don't know, but track your calories for about a week. If it turns out it's 23 or 2,400 a day, and be honest, don't like, sometimes when we tell people start tracking, they stop eating as much. Don't change how you eat for about a week. Just track your calories exactly the way they are, even if it's 3,000. I don't care. That's actually even better. The higher it is, the better, because we have more wiggle room. But let's say you're eating 3,000 calories a day. We know if we drop it to 2,500, you're going to lose weight, which is much, much better than somebody telling you, well, eat only 1,500. My guess is you're probably eating 2,400-ish a day. Even track those licks, bites, and tastes. People always forget those little things like, oh, I ate a couple of grapes or a couple of almonds. Just track everything. The higher the number, the better, actually. So track for about a week, figure out where you are, subtract about 500. Let's say you're at 2,500, you subtract 500, that's 2,000 a day. You should lose about a pound a week. If you're losing more than that, like you're losing 2 pounds a week, that's too fast. That's when you risk losing lean body mass. We don't want that either. We'll increase your calories then. The slower you lose weight, the better. We tell people to restrict their calories. Like if you were at 2,500, you're staying the same, we reduce you to 2,000. Stay at 2,000 for about 3 months. All right, you drop, let's say 20 pounds. I don't know, I'm just making this up. Then we increase your calories back up to maintenance. Your new maintenance would be around 22 or 2,300. We increase you up to 2,300. You'll put on a few pounds because of water and glycogen, and then you'll stay at that for like 2 months in a row. Your body readapts to this new higher calorie count. Everything stabilizes. You're back in equilibrium. You're not damaging your metabolism. Then we drop your calories again. This time we drop it to, let's say, 1,900 or 2,000 again. Boom, weight starts coming off again. And we just keep cycling 3 months, 2 months. That is the best way. It's slow and steady weight loss because you protect your lean body mass. You don't yo-yo diet. You develop habits that are long lasting. You develop a very, very good relationship with food. You can eat anything you want as long as it adds up to your calorie count and you're getting enough protein. Razzle Dazzle says, have you ever been on the news? Yes. Jay-Z says, thank you. You're welcome. Noor already answered that. If I didn't answer your question enough, Noor, please post a clarification. I think that answers it. Zabe says, what is your best healthy cheat meal? Okay, Zabe, so here's the thing. Bro, you don't need to do a cheat meal. Everything you eat is food. Just eat it. I don't like labeling food as good or bad. You'll develop a bad relationship with food. One of the main things that I teach is to develop a good relationship with food. Ice cream, pizza, pop, French fries, it's just food. It's just macronutrients. It's like carbs, fat, and protein in various ratios. Kale and quinoa is also fat, protein, and carbs in various ratios. Neither is good or bad. Like what's his name earlier was asking, I want to gain weight. I want to eat heavy cream. He's eating boatloads of butter and cream because he needs to gain weight. If you need to gain weight, eat the pizza. The other thing is if you label foods as good or bad, you're going to punish yourself. If you feel like, well, I just ate a whole thing of ice cream, or I ate 2 things of ice cream, I'm such a horrible human being, I need to go punish myself tomorrow, I'm going to eat nothing, or I'm going to go work out in the gym for 3 hours. You don't need to do that. It's a horrible way to live, and it's terrible. If you ate ice cream and it gave you happiness and satisfaction and it released endorphins and you felt motivated to get back on your diet, good. There's 365 days a year, and you're going to be doing this for a long time. Eat some ice cream, man. Like, just have fun with it. I don't even want to even use the term cheat meal. The best cheat meal is not a cheat meal. Just eat what you like. You should be eating what you like. There should never be a cheat meal. You should be eating what Zabe likes. The best diet is the Zabe diet. It's what Zabe likes to eat. So just eat what you like and just make it a little bit less than what you normally do. If you want to be precise, obviously track with an app. If not, then do it by visually estimating. Zabe says, as in it tastes like a cheat meal, but made healthier. Okay, so there are ways to make certain things healthier, but they usually don't taste good. I like to use Faye 0%. Let me type it in here because it's magic. Faye 0% Greek yogurt. It literally is just a bowl of protein. It has almost no carbs, very minimal fat. It's 0%, so there's no fat, but it's like basically a bowl of thick, white, creamy protein. You can add Splenda or honey to it and turn it into ice cream. Throw some berries on it. You can throw it in your berry shake. I have like a protein shake video that you can watch. It uses fire yogurt. You can add salt to it and make it, and garlic, and make it like a butter, cheese spread for your toast or avocado toast or whatever you like. But Faye is like my favorite thing. I do have a cookbook actually coming out. I don't know if I have a copy of it sitting around, but I have a cookbook that uses Faye in a lot of the recipes. You can use it for sweets, and you can use it for desserts. You can use it for salty foods. If you go to Amazon and search for Heart to Heart, I'll type that out. My cookbook, it's kind of cool actually. The chapters are based on calories needed to lose weight. So there's like a chapter for 2400, then 2200, then 2000, then 18, then 16. But you basically calculate your calories by multiplying your weight by 10, then go to that chapter and eat those foods, make those foods, eat them, and then you lose weight. And each chapter has enough protein to protect lean body mass and or build muscle. Zabe says, very true, sir. Thanks, mate. I've just come out of a bad binge restrict issue for 2 to 3 years. Stressful life, but you are right and holy. Yeah, Zabe, that is a way to develop a eating disorder. And it sounds like you, if I understand you correctly, you may have had one. You restrict, never eat ice cream, never eat pizza, never eat pop, never eat carbs, never eat spaghetti, never eat whatever. And then, oh my God, I ate it one day, and you go crazy and you eat the whole thing. And then you feel horrible for doing it because you think you fell off the wagon and you did such a horrible job. But definitely don't view food as that. Man, food is just food. It's a combination of carbs, protein, and fat. Sometimes it's more carbs, sometimes more protein, sometimes it's more fat, sometimes it's even. There's only a few foods that are equal parts almost, and that's nuts. Nuts are almost equal parts protein, fat, and carbs, but almost everything else is like more heavily two of the others. All right. So yeah, Zabe, please, dude, don't do that to yourself. There's no cheat meal. It's just eat what you want. Whatever Zabe likes, that's what Zabe's going to eat. I don't care what it is. Just make sure your calories are like at the right amount, and make sure your protein's good. Arrow says, I have issues with binge eating as well. I'm not overweight yet, thankfully, but after counting calories and restricting myself, I've ended up binge eating once I went over my calories. Okay, so Arrow, I think we've all done this, even myself. Obviously, if you have an eating disorder, guys and gals, please go see like a therapist. I'm not a therapist, and I don't want you to take this as like psychological advice, because that's not me. I'm a cardiologist and a personal trainer. I've studied and researched weight loss, but obviously tracking calories and being that obsessive compulsive about tracking calories can start eating disorders in people and or worsen them. If you already have an eating disorder, suddenly tracking every little grape you eat is going to make you go insane. So please don't do that. I will tell you that if you go over your calories one day and you binge, man, it's all right. It's okay. It's life. You went over. It's not really a big deal. You got tomorrow and the next day. Yeah, you might gain a half a pound or a pound overnight, depending on what you ate. But you know what? Tomorrow's a new day, and it's really not a big deal. And I've done it myself. When I was trying to get really, really lean and shredded, I got down to like 7% body fat. Man, I had days when I overate and I was like, oh, what did I do? This is crazy. And I get mad. And I'm like, I've been trying to get really lean, and I overate. But it is what it is. If you're doing this, if tracking calories is going to worsen an eating disorder or give you one, please, don't do it. Find another way. Talk to someone who can help you with that. I hope that answers your question. I want to see if I got everyone's questions. I'm just clicking through some of these. Okay. Yeah, it looks like I've got everyone's questions. Does anyone else have any questions? We'll open it to the floor. I did all the ones that people posted and sent in earlier. Now I'm doing the ones that are live. Zabe has one. Do you do consultation work for those? Oh, sorry, I missed an earlier question, Zabe. Do you do consulting or blood work reviews for someone based in the UK? You know your stuff, and the NHS system here in the UK ain't the best. So keen to explore what you can do, sir. Yeah, Zabe, if you want to send me your stuff, just click on my account and just shoot me an email with your blood work. No big deal. Obviously, I'm not your doctor, so please don't take it as medical advice. And I have to give that disclaimer. Yes, I'm a cardiologist and a certified personal trainer, and I know a lot about this stuff, but I'm also not your doctor. I don't know you specifically, but I can try to help you with that. His other question towards the end: do you do consultation work for those in the UK? Okay, so that was the same question. Yeah, Zabe, I can definitely help you with that. That's no problem. Let me know. The biggest thing with blood work is saturated fat. If your cholesterol is high and your LDL is high, you definitely want to lower your saturated fat intake. Saturated fat is what causes your cholesterol to go up. There was a study done in Finland. Finland had the highest mortality per capita in 1969, 1972. They had 700 people dying for every 100,000. It was the highest in the world. So they went over there, the government went over there and tried to look at this place called North Karelia in Finland. They had the highest mortality, that rural kind of area. They were eating butter and bacon and chicken skin and lard and fat and all this stuff. And they wanted to figure out what can we do to lower mortality. They were eating 23% of their calories from saturated fat. They dropped it over the years down to 10% or less. They had an 84% reduction in cardiovascular mortality. So that is obviously really, really cool. Zabe says life experience trumps my doctor. Sorry, it was the same question. Yeah, no, of course it does, Zabe. And I'm glad you trust me and have that kind of rapport with me. I'd be happy to look at your stuff, but obviously, like I said, I'm not your doctor. Arrow says, I always tell myself I will stop binge eating, but I still end up doing it. Do you think I've damaged my health by doing this from a cardiovascular point of view? The next day, I sometimes have edema. So, look, Arrow, I'm going to say the same thing. I'm not your doctor and I'm not a psychiatrist at all. Food eating disorders are very, very severe, and some of them are life threatening. It sounds like what you're doing or was doing is causing some health problems for you. Edema is not normal, especially if you end up like vomiting and all that kind of stuff afterwards. I really don't know what you mean by what you've said, but just binge eating and then starving yourself the next day and all that shouldn't cause any cardiovascular problems per se. But like I said, I really don't know the details, and I would explore this with a food therapist for sure, as well as your own doctor that actually knows you. Vicky says, I ordered your books from Amazon. So, Vicky, you're going to love it. There's obviously the weight loss book that includes all of this research. It's like 20 years worth of research and now that I put into this thing. And it's written so that everybody can understand it. A lot of my doctor friends are like, hey, dude, you need to publish something for people, not just all these medical lectures. So I did. The other one I think you'll really like, Vicky, is the Cookbook. It's full color, hardcover with a dust jacket and everything. It's a beautiful book. It's also on Amazon. I posted the name of it. It's Heart to Heart. Just search it up. And if you live around here, I'll be happy to personalize it for you. Zabe says, what's a day in your life look like? Eating, training, work. So Zabe, I wake up in the morning. I toast 2 pieces of Dave's Killer bread, 21 grain thin sliced. I put 2 fried eggs on it. Go to work, send my kids off to the bus, drive to work. It's about an hour away from me. See patients, do some stress tests, read echocardiograms and EKGs, counsel patients on a lot of the stuff we're talking about. Lunch, I'll have a salad with some chicken or salmon or something on it. Sometimes I'll have a sandwich. I don't know, but I do track, so it doesn't really matter. I just eat whatever I feel like that day. If something looks really good on the menu at the hospital, I'll eat that. They have really good roast beef sandwiches sometimes. A lot of times it's just a combination of salads and pastas and stuff like that. I'll just eat that. I'll see more patients in the afternoon, maybe do a few more patient consults in the hospital, drive home. If I have calories left over, I'll make something for dinner. If not, I'll just wait for the kids to come home. Then we'll go to the gym. The gym is in my house, obviously. I think I did a video on my exercise routine, and that's my home gym. You can take a look at that. My kids love it and work out with me. My wife sometimes too. It's a lot of fun. Let's see. I hope that answers your question. If you want more details, please ask. Zabe says I got counseling for my binge eating, Arrow, and it helped a lot. So yeah, Arrow, definitely do that. It sounds like this can be very embarrassed. Look, and it says I don't really want to tell anyone in real life about this. I'm ashamed and embarrassed, but I want to stop. Look, Arrow, there is nothing shameful about that. The sooner you seek help, the better. And especially if you're forcing yourself to throw up, which is what I think you're saying here, you really have to get that under control. Look, I don't know what you weigh or what you look like. I'm sure you're a beautiful human being, and This type of behavior, though, is very dangerous and can be life-threatening, especially if there's a lot of throwing up going on. Your electrolytes can be all off. You can go into a cardiac arrhythmia. Those things are dangerous, Arrow. So please don't be embarrassed. Just find somebody, even if it's anonymous, just tell them your name is an Arrow. I don't know what your real name is, but just if your real name is Arrow, tell them you're John, whatever, just make something up. There's confidentiality and they'll never tell anyone. So please just go seek help. Like I said, I'm not really a therapist. I deal with a lot of eating disorders because this is what we do to ourselves. Vicky says, yes, I'm ordering the cookbook. You and your brother are my cardiologist, so I have lots of trust in both of you. Thank you for all you do. You're welcome, Vicky. We just do this to help people. Zabe says, yes, I'm following your exercise routine. Yeah, that's my routine. I do a push-pull legs routine. Push is chest and shoulders. Pull is mainly back. And then legs is legs. It's lots of squats, bench press, deadlift, overhead press, walking lunges, pull-ups, rows, and hip thrusts. Razzle is my daughter again. She says, yes, it's really fun. Razzle, I will give her some huge credit. She's actually the single person that works out with me the most. She's an incredible athlete and works out to support her athleticism. She plays soccer. She works out. She's super strong. Nobody on the soccer field is able to hang with her. Nobody's ever knocked her down or taken her out. So she will kick everyone's soccer butts. Oh, and Zane, also my son, says I work out too. Yes, he does. Zane also works out with me and plays multiple sports. He's a multi-sport athlete as well. So Zabe goes, can you recommend me on book names? Trying to find them on Amazon. Okay, so just go type in actualweightlossbook.com. I'll type it in here for you. If you go to this, it'll take you to the Amazon pre-order page. You can type in actual weight loss Dr. Aloe, and it should show up, or type in heart to heart, which I posted earlier, heart, and then the number 2, and then heart again. That's my cookbook. Let's see. The next question. Zabe says, is it really that bad? Yeah, it can be. Eating disorders are very, very, very bad. Very dangerous. Zabe says, is Splenda really that bad? Oh, no, Splenda is not bad. They actually did a study on lots of these, like equal aspartame, Splenda, and whatnot. They literally have no effect on human beings at all. So I wouldn't worry about it. Zabe says, go razzle dazzle. Yes, go razzle. Zabe says, haha, Zane, I like your name. And thanks, Dr. Aloe, I will. Roll says, as a general reference, how often should I suggest my clients to get blood work done? Should I just stick with the suggestion of getting it done and let their doctors? Yeah, I would just let the doctors do that. Zabe, or Roll, I'm a certified personal trainer too. One of the main things they told us is get medical clearance from the doctor before you start training someone. That's a really good idea. If the doctor clears them, especially older patients that have multiple diseases, if they're like 30, 35 years old, like you said, I wouldn't worry about it. But I wouldn't get into the nitty gritty of their blood work. And I wouldn't get into the reviewing their blood work and looking at it and making suggestions. It just gets messy. Let the doctors do their thing. You do your thing. Your job and my job as certified trainers, I'll put my certified trainer hat on. Our job is to train them and get them healthier via movement. The doctor's job is to look at their medications and blood pressure and cholesterol and all that and get them better with, medications. Now, obviously, the two correlate. If you get them to lose a bunch of weight and they're exercising, their blood pressure may go down, their cholesterol may improve. They may not need as many medications, but they can tell their doctor that, and their doctor can follow it and make those adjustments. But I wouldn't dive into that. It gets kind of messy. Zabe says, I'll order your books now. Vicky says, hello, Zane and Razzle. You guys rock. Zane goes, thank you. All right. So are there any other questions? My kids are YouTubers, apparently. Anybody have any questions before we wrap this up? Yeah, this is a 0-calorie drink. I actually like these a lot. Spendrift is just sparkling water with some like squeezed fruit in it. But anyways, so I think we'll wrap it up. I appreciate everyone being here. This will obviously be on YouTube. Do you think the big compounds, particularly deadlifts and squats, are compulsory or you can switch it out. Okay, so nothing is actually compulsory, Zabe. If you don't like doing deadlifts and squats, just do leg extensions, hip thrusts, and leg curls. You definitely want to do hip thrusts though, because you do need like a hip hinging movement. The deadlift does that. If you don't want to deadlift, do a hip hinging movement of some sort. And there's lots of them. Just search, hip hinge exercises. The nice thing about compound movements is that they work out like your entire body. When you got a barbell on your back and you're trying to stabilize it, you're engaging your lats, you're engaging your core, your abs, your lower back, your legs, your thighs, almost every body part. Um, Same thing for deadlift. It's mainly a back exercise. You does back extension and hip, hinging. It's not really that much of a leg exercise if you're doing them correctly. It really builds a thick, strong back. But no, nothing is compulsory. If you don't like it or it injures you or hurts, find something else. Vicky says, "Thank you for your lives. For the YouTube lives. I learned so much." Yo, you're welcome, Vicky. Hopefully, we'll do some more of these. All right, so we are almost at an hour. I'll give you guys a few more seconds if you have any other questions. If not, we can end this. Any other questions? We'll try to do this, like I said, every few weeks or so. The snow emergency was the reason we did it this time. Noor says, "Thank you very much, Dr. Allo." You're welcome, Noor. Hopefully I was helpful. And look, you can email me and message me. I know you have already. But if this didn't make any sense or you need like some more explanation, just message me. It's totally fine. I'll help you get through this. It's really not that hard. Anybody can do it. And I have patients that are 65 years old that have lost 50, 60, 70, 80 pounds. So if they can do it, so can you. Good night. Thank you to you and your family. Stay blessed. Thank you, Vicky. Stay safe with the weather. It's pretty nasty out there. All right, everyone. I think we'll call it a day or a night, I guess. And we will talk later. You're welcome, Sir Zabe, and everyone else that contributed and added questions. It's been a very awesome discussion. Take care, everyone. Good night. You're welcome, Jim. And we'll see you on the next live.